We got marketing on the minds today, the real role of marketing in business growth. And I cannot emphasize that. I was going to say exaggerate, but that's exactly the problem with marketing. It's almost all an exaggeration. And we understand. We got somebody in the house who is an absolute legend when it comes to marketing, in my opinion, and that is Robb Fahrion. This guy understands the value of team, and I am going to say it, my friends. We're going to dive deep and profound today. This is not going to be your simple, like, get your quick list out and write down the three things they're not going to change your world, my friends. There is so much that has to be done to make sure the marketing is on point. And if you've ever met somebody who calls themselves a marketing guy or marketing gal, that's your first sign to run. It's called a department. A department. There's no ego involved in it when it's done right, in my humble opinion. So, Robb, again, thank you so much for joining me on Vision Bros Live again. I can't wait to dive in.
Yeah, likewise. I think you alluded to some of the things, right, that you and I both align on, Jackson. And more than anything, just thanks for the opportunity for being here. Really excited just to share some knowledge with the community, and appreciate you doing this show. Appreciate it a lot.
Absolutely. All of you who are out there looking to like hire people for marketing or growth, or the chief revenue growth officers or the fractionals. I hate the fractional term. It's like, if you ever fractured a bone before, it's not a good idea for the body, nor for the business. And so this guy over here, I'm actively recruiting him. I am trying really, really hard to get him to come join us over at First Class Business and combine our brands in some form or fashion. And that's part of the whole process too, my friends. You want great minds helping you on this. And wait a second, doesn't First Class Business and Vision Pro, don't we do a bunch of marketing stuff? Again, it's called the department. I can't do it alone. So with that said, what is your vision, Robb? Let's just start from the basics. What is your vision?
Yeah, that's a great question to start with. And I think the vision's been built, I think, through seeing a lot of the challenges that our clients, and you've alluded it to what marketing is, that they don't understand about
Mm.
marketing and where it fits in their business. And so I think for me, the vision really is bringing to light how critical marketing is to your business success, your personal endeavors, whatever it is that you might be using as a KPI or a milestone, right? I mean, marketing just is really a lifeblood of the business. So vision, real quickly, is just being able to bring that to light for our clientele and the people that we engage with, which oftentimes owners, CEOs, founders, entrepreneurs.
I love that you said that marketing is the lifeblood of the business. And it's so sad to me when departments get defensive about that. And they're like, wait, no, sales is the lifeblood of business. No, 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 fulfillment and our customer service. Guys, it's all part of marketing. You can't separate it and win. You can find lots of companies that will fight about it. I have no desire to work with them. They don't know what they're doing. That is not a good idea to find. So I love how you named your brand as well, Flying V. I'm a big fan of the Mighty Ducks. I
Yes.
love that those movies, all three that I saw. There's probably like 10 now. But tell us about the concept of the Flying V, why it
Sure.
matters, how it applies to the overall vision.
Yeah, so I think at the root of it, myself, Brennan, Tyler, so those are my two other co-founders. One's my
I
brother, the
can't believe
other
you haven't introduced me yet. I'm offended already. Keep going. That's fine. Keep going.
the other best friend. But we're athletes really at the root of it, right? So anything growing up, athletic wise, we resonated with. And Flying V is actually a reference, I guess you could say early 90s, the Mighty Ducks. It was a
Yeah.
Disney hockey series, like you said.
Quack,
And they
quack.
ran
Sorry for that.
quack, quack, quack. They ran the Flying V formation. And so, yeah, we were team guys, thought it was cool. And then we're in Orange County, California. So that aligned in the sense the professional team, the Anaheim Ducks, is in Orange County. And then when we looked at like, wow, okay, why do ducks actually fly that way? That it really is fascinating. And so we looked at it, wow, that's like what we want to do for our clients and our partners, which is you can fly more efficiently. They're able to fly further. A lot of times there's trade-off with who the leader is at any one particular time when you're navigating on that journey. And so we've used that from a business sense of, we want to help you be more efficient, get maximize, right, investment, return on that investment with marketing, advertising dollars. And then a lot of times, we want to take, and bear that headwind for our clients when it comes to marketing, right? Because marketing can be challenging. And so for that CEO finally feeling like, all right, I got somebody at the lead of this department, or that's really accentuating, the existing team within the department. Our clients really like that and appreciate that. So yeah, we've used that from a business application standpoint.
I love it. And I love that you mentioned the interchanging of leaders in the front. And of course, the efficiency. There's that old, I believe it's an African proverb. You want to go fast, go alone. You want to go far, go together.
So good.
It's so important. And I watched the CEO of Google step down many years ago, Eric Schmidt, and then Larry Page took over, and then Sergey Brin took over as CEO successively, and they all stayed involved in the company. They were leveraging each other's strengths and weaknesses and opportunities and threats, and deciding like, let's focus on different things at different times. So there's so much abundance when we get the ego out of the way and we see the opportunities to work together. So guys, all of you listening in right now, I would say that the principles, thank you, Ray Dalio, are like far more important than the tactics that you might be looking at. There's so much shiny object syndrome out there. I'm sorry if that's you, like you're not going to get that out of this. What you're going to get out of this are the principles that will lead to the productivity that can also create profitability for your brands. That's what we'll be focusing on. So if we happen to dive into the shiny object too, I like them sometimes. But anyway, Rob, we're gonna let's drop one value bomb before we cut for a little break, and then we're gonna come back, guys, and I'm gonna reveal some of the deepest secrets that I can about what I've seen to drive success at some of the most impressive growth companies in the entire world. So what's a value bomb, Rob, that you just want to throw out there?
Yeah, the one I've been focused on, I think the most lately, is alignment. I like single words and kind of focusing in on what they mean and how they fit within any sort of engagements. And the one I find most consistently in successful relationships or engagements is when both parties are just aligned, right? We know what one party is doing. We understand what the other party is going to do in response. We have clear, if it's deadlines or communication schedules, right? Just, hey, when are we meeting? What are we talking about? So I just see those types of teams and organizations too. They obsess over, okay, are we aligned? Is everybody on the same page? If not, let's spend that extra 5 minutes, right, getting aligned. And so I think a lot of that with our team, our partners, making sure you're aligned, right? And what that means is a lot of times different. And so then you push for that understanding. So that's a key word I've been focused on.
Dive deep on this, okay? Ready? This is the last podcast you need to listen to for the week. Oh my, I'm serious. You got too much productivity to drive as business owners and visionaries. You can't be consuming all day. We got to be producers, not consumers. And so take what Rob just said. Go to AI. I would say Claude. Claude's crushing it right now, okay? Go there and drop in your URL for your website and drop in your URL for your LinkedIn profile and ask it and say, Claude, I want a simple business assessment. Ask me some questions about where I am not aligned for my business goals. Tell it what your business goals are real quick and hit enter. It will give you back some questions and it will tear down all the little holes and flaws and what you might be doing right now in a way that should be able to help you understand, like, oh, dang, like I can now see some of my flaws. Then my next step for you, don't tackle it alone. Call people who can help you on these things. Like, that idea is not meant to be your recipe for success for life. It is not a get rich quick idea. It is getting you exposed to the things that you may be overlooking that are probably hurting your brand more than the things that you are actually currently aware of. So we're going to dive into some other deep secrets. Thank you for leading me with that, Rob. I love it. I'm going to use that myself. We'll see you guys on the other side. Be prepared to dive in deep and learn some things. And by the way, drop a comment with questions that you might have too. And Rob and I will both be happy to get back to those as well. Even if we don't do it live, we'll do a bonus episode and on our own time, or a bonus audio clip and get you the answer. We are here to help and serve.
All right. Welcome in to Vision Pros Live with Jackson Callum. I'm your show host. We will be doing interviews for visionary entrepreneurs and guest leaders who are building fantastic visions out there.
My friends, welcome into another episode of Vision Pros Live. We are talking about one of my absolute favorite subjects because it's the thing that visionaries mess up the most, in my opinion, and that is marketing. They do not understand what it is. They don't understand how it works. That can apply to all of us. I need to learn more about this too. But when Elon Musk got on stage and he sold the whole world on this car that may come out in 2 to 3 years, he ended up selling 180,000 of his product or service that didn't exist and wouldn't exist for 2 to 3 years. And because he fulfilled on it, he became one of the greatest geniuses of all time. That has a lot to do with marketing. And what did he do in the front end? Here's the reveal. He had a clear vision. He had a phenomenal culture that people wanted to belong to. Great leaders came and wanted to love the vision, and they wanted to be part of that culture. And that's what he marketed. He did not market an ending product or service. Again, there's so much more to talk about related to that. We got Robb Fahrion in the house to help me do this. Robb is somebody who not only did he impress me with the idea that he's one of the few marketers that I've talked to that understands the value of team and working in groups. He's a family man, and he's also a former football coach. And the ability to work as a team is, I can't stress enough how important it is when we're building visions that go beyond like what I want, the ice cream I want today. Nobody cares about that vision, right? They want to know what's in it for them on what they do, and they want to be able to belong to the process. So Robb's done a phenomenal job of building out a great brand. He cares tremendously about his family. I appreciate that a ton too. And if you're not picking up the hints, guys, it's these little principles that matter the most when you're trying to build something sustainable long-term. And that's what I want for you in relation to every single one of your visions. So before I bring it back on, I also want to give you guys some other tools and resources and leaders out there that can help with the process. So AI Mavericks, we'll talk about real fast. This is Scott Simpson and Austin Armstrong. I've followed them for over a year. Really impressed with their dedication to really diving and wanting to help people with in every way that they can. They're more like the hustle and grind type, which I'm not a huge fan of that style, but I do like being able to get their news about what's latest and greatest in the world of AI, and they can drive their Lamborghinis without a break all day long, and I get to benefit from learning from it. So I recommend checking it out. On the flip side, we also have the AI marketplace. That's our version of an AI community where ai.firstclassbusiness.io/DEPTH depth. If you go to that, you'll see an actual secret page about why we built this. But ultimately, every single one of you is already an AI expert. Please don't let me or Austin or Scott or anybody else get in your head about the fact that you're like behind. You're not behind with this. You've been building AI since the 90s. Now you just have an opportunity to learn how to communicate about it so that if you're a professional, you can get hired for positions or retain your position in a world that's kind of increasingly freaking out about AI. In addition to that, if you're a business owner, you need to know the true bottlenecks of what's causing productivity problems and profitability problems in your brand. AI is not capable of doing that by itself. But if you learn to be an executive leader and learn how to teach AI not to lie and not to hallucinate, but actually create things that matter for the here and now, you can create an extremely profitable business much faster by using these tools. My friends, think of it like a chainsaw versus an axe. You can use the axe for the rest of your life if you want, but I highly recommend upgrading to using chainsaws as a tool, but realize that you are the controller over what types of results that you get out of that and use it responsibly for sure. Then there's the water project, my friends. Please join me on helping out those who need it most. These are people who probably don't have access to AI like you and I do. In fact, when I found out that people don't have access to clean drinking water, I couldn't relate to it. I've never been thirsty in my life. But as I dove more in and paid attention to what was happening, I imagined my own children having to get water out of a hole like that, or having to go search for water for their school and not be able to focus on their education. My friends, the Water Project does an excellent job of creating transparency over what your donation goes towards. So when you give even $10 to this, you get to choose the community, and they send you email updates about the progress. And when it gets finished, you get to see the impact that you get to have on generations. And if you're in a financial situation right now where you can't give back, my hope is that you just share it with a friend over lunch, actually talk about it, dive in a little bit deep and see what's going on. You never know how far the ripple effect of doing just that can go. You might inspire somebody to give $10,000 to this, and that might provide water to thousands of villagers for generations and completely change the trajectory of their lives. You have the ability to make that impact just by sharing sometimes. So join us on that. We're gonna get back to helping every single one of you on building your visions now. And Rob, again, thanks so much for being here, man. This is going to be awesome.
Yeah, super excited to be here. Thanks, Jackson. And awesome stuff you guys are doing there. I love that.
Well, thank you. I'm excited to now bring all the water goodness. Let's overuse the symbolism for the rest of you related to your marketing and moving your visions forward. So when we talk about marketing, visibility, branding, conversions, there's a difference between being busy and broke and being productive and profitable and driving real business results. What are some of the easier things that people can do, Rob, to get on track with what's profitable and productive?
I know we mentioned alignment earlier, right? But kind of sticking with that theme is understanding what you're measuring or how you're measuring it, right? Even mature businesses, sometimes if it's financial related or inventory for like product-based businesses, they need to get those counts dialed in. It's like, okay, what are you going to measure? And then what are the baselines? And then also what's successful and what's not. So then when you are going into an engagement or you're trying a new channel or we're putting this investment into this particular area, knowing how you're going to judge it and all agreeing that this is how we're going to judge it. And then what happens depending on what we find out will dictate, our next decisions after the fact. Because that's a lot of times what marketing is too, is you're going in with either assumptions or maybe half of the picture, but not the full picture. And so you're trying to figure out, okay, what can I learn? What do I now know that I didn't know before that helps me to then uncover, the gold nuggets that everybody's looking for when they think about marketing, right? Turn marketing on and gold just starts falling out of the sky. Well, yeah, that's not necessarily how it works. It was putting yourself in a lot of other places to then be in the right place at the right time, when the gold showers was coming down. So you just want to really know how to position yourself and then stick to what those measuring KPIs are going to be, report on them consistently, talk about them consistently, because then you'll better understand what's actually affecting them in a positive or negative way.
Huge. Guys, I love color commentating because I look like the smart one. Even though he's the one that went into the depth that helped me uncover it. Guys, I asked what were some of like the easier things, and Rob gave me some of the really like the simple truths, the golden principle. And oh my gosh, it's so hard. And so I want to acknowledge that for all of you. And Rob is so right. We've got to measure. And I love that you said too, like, you kind of only know like half of what's going on. Most of the time that's generous, my friends. Most of the time, like 10% of what's going on. And so again, not to shatter Rob's truths, but to amplify that based on my own challenges with this. And I've been in marketing for 20 plus years. And so guys, I built a tool for AI to help me measure, because I too need to get better measurement. I want to show you guys exactly what I built, because holy crap, like this opened my eyes to just how disastrous AI is. And the knowledge that it supposedly gives you. So I built this tool. I put it out on LinkedIn last week about the B2B deal flow and a revenue calculator for digital marketers, online coaching, consulting. I wanted to be able to show you guys, like, if you really want to be successful, you've got to have a certain amount of people on the top of your funnel. You're going to make a certain amount of money based on industry averages. Your sales cycles are going to be a certain amount of time, and your percentages of if you convert people from this to this to this, then yes, you're looking at making some money. And then of course it's a numbers game beyond that. But here's what happened. I put this online, and Dr. Jeremy, you have to look him up on my LinkedIn. He's a great podcast host that teaches people how to launch profitable podcasts. He's like, Jackson, did you write a blog post to cite where you got the information? And so I was like, crap, I forgot to do that on this one. And I loved it. And so I went ahead and asked Gemini. I'm going to pick on Gemini hard today. I was like, yeah, throw this white citations in here. I think it's this one, the Forrester one or the Intel one. It's completely made up. It lied to me. This doesn't even exist. It invented a name in order to convince me that this report was real. And I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, so all my data is absolute garbage. And it's very sophisticated looking garbage. And so now I'm in the process of redesigning it with Claude, which Claude does the same thing, guys. It doesn't necessarily get everything right. And so my point with what Rob was talking about and what's so important for all of you and me and all of this, I'm going to go to the easier answer. If you don't want to suffer and go through the pain of doing all that, hire people like me and Rob. And I'm not kidding about that. I go to VaynerMedia if you want to. Who else? 2x.co out of Austin. They're not bad. Kaifek's probably pretty good too. Virgin Startups, if you can qualify, I'd take Richard Branson over me any day. No offense, Rob. I'd probably trust him at this point because I just haven't seen Rob's production over the course of 30 years, but we've seen Richard Branson's. Meanwhile, I can't afford Richard Branson right now. I can afford to talk to Rob, and he's right here in front of me. And he seems like a good dude, and we're figuring things out. So, my friends, don't feel like you have to do all this alone. You're not qualified. It's hard for me, and I've been doing this for years. So, Rob, further thoughts on AI, the marketing, the measuring. What else? What are other options for entrepreneurs? Because as far as I know, I won't touch it without an expert.
Yeah, it's a slippery slope in a lot of ways, right? Because it's like, okay, you have all this access to these tools, the resources, especially on the software development side, right? You can spin up a tool that before you'd have to go online, find somebody, pay them, get access for it. You can just do it in a matter of 15, 20 minutes. But I think like understanding how the tools actually fit within a bigger ecosystem, within the business itself, right? Not just these one-off siloed use cases. And so a lot of times that's where we're trying to come in and say, okay, we understand AI can go and do all of these really, shiny objects like you talked about, fancy pieces, components, but when you try to put it into your day-to-day operations of the business, it doesn't work. Why? An API doesn't fit in properly. So-and-so from accounting doesn't like to use it, or just can't log in, or we don't have the right credentials, or accounting hasn't approved the subscriptions we need to run the credits at what particular rate. So, these grand ideas become just that, and they sit there, and next thing you look around, you're like, hey, look, I've got all these different tools, but none of them are actually working within a process. So we're really trying to say,
but
okay,
if I lie to enough people, Rob, and I grow my following to 500,000, then I can still become very wealthy for myself.
For sure.
All these testimonials that are saying, "Oh, he's so amazing. Oh, he's so nice. Oh," and they know none of them are case studies. Yeah,
it's so true.
Brendan Burchard. Sorry. All right.
So it just accentuates the point. You're right. And then we're here sitting day to day talking to real business owners within real organizations that have been around years and years and years, and realizing, hey, we just need to find maybe one or two pain points, bottlenecks, and it's a small fix that uses AI that they can actually wrap their head around. They can see it work, and they can see it make the process more efficient, and then that just leads to more opportunity to eventually build this more complex system, but get the proper development support you need too, because we see that with AI, right? You have this fancy thing, but then they can't unravel it, or you need to go then spend a boatload of money deving it out for it actually to work the way it vibe codes and works at the present point in time. So yeah, we're just looking for a lot of practical use cases. So I think for entrepreneurs, business owners, it's testing more messages, right? Or getting more creative in your pipeline, using it to go through information that you already have that for you to pour over would take a long time. Throw it up into ChatGPT and say, hey, these are all of my sales calls over the last 30 days. And can you go through these transcripts and pull out, what should I see? Right? As an owner, like, what do I need to know in here? What's the consistent theme or thread? And those are very practical use cases, low lift use cases. Anyone can do them, right? With just some very basic training. And then, it just makes your team member too, if they start doing little things like that, they become more powerful. They start challenging themselves. the AI starts challenging their way of thinking and their process and presenting new ideas. And next thing you know, it's just doing what I think AI does best: efficiency, creativity, right? Using it to, bounce ideas and then facilitate information faster and more effectively. So that's our take on our
Super
side.
helpful. And the nice thing about AI, guys, is while it's also extremely effective at manipulation and exploitation. You have the ability to ask it directly. You have to be direct, not to do that. Challenge me, right? You can ask it to challenge you, and for better than a human being, it won't do what's called ruinous empathy, where it just tries to like agree with you and placate you. A lot of people don't have that skill set, but you need it as an entrepreneur. You need to be able to see the perspectives that you can't. And so when it comes to conversations, or rather marketing, and focusing on the clarity and execution and building a marketing approach that supports what we call sustainable growth, you can do that very unethically. And there's a lot of people who will teach you out there things that are super unethical, and anything that's kind of hype driven, I'm always like, yeah, there's got to be something ethical behind this. So I know it's a little bit more boring to hear what we say, but the principles are so important. There's this guy named Brendan Burchard. I called him out a little bit earlier. Everybody loves to love Brendan Burchard. Trust me. As a human being, I love him. And I appreciate him. But as one of the most successful coaches in the world, what blew my mind was when I was at Kajabi at the event in person, and he's teaching about this the deadline sequence of emails that you should launch after your campaigns. And I told my team about it, and I went home and we're modeling what he's up to. And his offer says in 3 days, this is shutting down. In 2 days, this is shutting down, etc. Well, guess what happened the day after? His stinking link still works. He lied. The urgency was a complete farce. Worse, I went, and I have this document. I went to Facebook ads. He pops up, remarketing, and he told us all at Kajabi that we had to stay at the JW Marriott in order to go to this. And unfortunately, the pricing for JW Marriott through his page were higher than the standard pricing. And his Facebook ad told all the Facebook people, don't worry, you don't have to stay at the JW Marriott. What? Like, how many pieces of manipulation can you possibly put into one camp? I lost all respect for the integrity of the brand, and I hope he fixes it. I hope maybe his team did something, but the alignment, back to Robb's point, the measuring, the honesty, the willingness to really stand by. If you're going to be honest and win in business and be sustainable with your growth and your scale, I think it's very important that I'll lean on yesterday's guest, Dusty Golison, talked about the importance of compliance. And making sure that you're ethical in what it is that you launch. He used compliance and what was the other word for it? Compliance and governance. Not a word I would use, but I love it.
Governance.
Let's talk about that, Rob. What do you do to make sure that what you're doing is ethical while still being something that's exciting? How do you help?
I think that's where you introduce a new technology like AI, right? And a lot of people are just saying, oh, it replaces everything human. That's the scare tactic, right? Is it replaces everything humans do. We're going to be run by robots. But the one thing that we consistently communicate to our team is it just puts more value on you as a human when you're stamping approval on whatever was output by these AI tools. And so, you talk about governance, or you've heard this term Hake framework. So human with AI intervention, right? So still having guardrails around, okay, the AI is going to produce up until this point, but the value that we have as humans is that we get to put our final stamp of approval and say, yes, my name's on this. I stand by the information behind it. I approve of the look or the direction or those things. And that's the accountability that we have to our client, right? That's our own corporate governance, is that I'm not just pressing a button and then boom, pushing it over to them. And, it's ChatGPT. And then when they cut us, I'm blaming ChatGPT. Like, no, we are holding humans and our people and our team accountable to how we're using and facilitating these tools, and then what information we're putting our name on, which, for any business, that's where any business starts, right? Is it's a a bunch of characters on a sheet, and one person signs it, the next person signs it, and it's a contract at that point. And it's how you actually can build trust and start to move things forward, because there's accountability on both sides, right? And so I think that's that handshake that the best organizations still have. They're using AI, they're leaning into it, but they still understand that at the moment that matters the most, the humans handshaking over this information and saying, I trust the output. And when that deteriorates, that's when you really run into challenges and problems. And I think that's downfall of a lot of organizations, right? And it's just turned over to automation. You lose the human element. The brand falls apart because there's no one behind the brand. It's just this facade, really, a lot of times. So yeah, governance, I think, is going to be very interesting.
The facade is so much easier these days too to create. And that puts us in a position to where if we don't have great evaluation skills and comprehensive analysis skills as human beings, we're not going to know how to distinguish the difference. But the nice thing is, if you can see the principles, it's much easier to ignore the facades and the hype, right? And the cortisol and the dopamine people try to pump you with. And so while I picked on one leader earlier, I'd like to point out Patrick Lencioni and Simon Sinek as good examples of, look, if I want to build a successful brand, I think oftentimes we're looking for the shortcut, when in reality, when we look at the map, we want to be able to find the fastest path and the most secure path, but also like, who knows how to navigate those paths. And so it takes a little bit longer, but I'd rather look to Chick-fil-A and find out what are they doing. I'd rather go to the top 100 companies to work for, where people are happy and then there's abundance, and find out what are they doing to align their people processes with their marketing processes. There's so much that we can learn from looking at the people and looking at the types of relationships and cultures we might want to be creating in the process. So how can we get people, Rob, to move from the shiny object that is like, I need more traffic, I need more leads, to measurable growth?
Yeah, we're a very process-oriented organization. And you had mentioned earlier, I have a coaching background. And so high school football, American football, and I was taught a system that really was predicated around the smallest details and compounding effects of these details adding up. It may seem, not important on any particular day. And a lot of times in football, you're talking summer, doing 1 bench press rep or 2 bench press reps doesn't seem like a lot. But when you start to do it consistently day after day, you do it into the season gets into November, December, when the games matter the most. Those reps really start to build up, and the details matter. Details in terms of a team game. You might run the perfect play. The coach calls the perfect play, the perfect defense you're set up with to execute. You execute the play. The quarterback throws the ball, catch the ball, run the ball into the end zone, but you go back and one of the receivers was lined up an inch or two offside, right? Yeah, you bring the whole game or the whole play back. And so being around that team atmosphere, it was the 50th guy on the roster all the way up to the top. And, if one person didn't do their job, no matter how small of a detail it might have been, it could really break down the entire thing. And in critical moments when it matters the most, that could be make or break between a championship season and one that's not. So, we take a lot of those same principles and, build value in just the smallest tasks, right? For me, even as the CEO of the company and been doing it, 10 years now and building and bootstrapping and all those things, like reading my emails is like one of the most important things to me. And I stress that with the rest of our team, because it's like, no matter who you are, if someone's emailing in or you're emailing someone out, there's obviously importance behind, the intent and, just staying dialed in, or, making sure you're answering Slack communications in a timely manner. These are things that no matter what age, experience, role, responsibility, good teams do, and you hold each other accountable to things. And then those little things lead to bigger wins over time. And why? Well, because if you communicate and respond, things get done faster. You're both on the same page. You're not waiting around in this gray area to, know, wait, did they mean this or this, right? So yeah, big thing we push is just, jump on a 15-minute call if that's what's needed. We encourage that. We want that. Bring to light conversation and problems. So yeah,
that was
that's been really
masterclass.
big thing for us. Yeah.
That was a masterclass on like the most important components of marketing, business growth, and life, my friends. Oh my gosh, that was so good, Robin. And in relation to it, guys, it reminds me of an analogy I use, which is the wooden slides. We're old enough to remember that there used to be slides that were wooden. And but I never slid down a slide and got a splinter. Oh man, that would be awful, right? They'd shut that slide down in a heartbeat for one tiny sliver. Right. It would be over for everybody. And in hospitality, chefs understand this at great restaurants. But in marketing, we love to just move fast. And it's like, well, we just got to do this. And I love how you dove into like even the intent of the email, not just the emails and getting to them, but the intent of it. When I was a co-founder of Restaurant Connect and we went to the National Restaurant Association show, first day, Don and I both had 60 plus leads. It was awesome. The next morning, I went for an hour and a half trying to talk to restaurant owners and nobody stopped. And I went to the bathroom. Finally, I was kind of pissed off at myself. I needed to, I was looking at Dawn from 20 yards away and I'm like, it can't be that stupid simple. Like, I really can't. That can't be it. And I went back to the booth and the next person walked by and said, hey, you got a full service restaurant? And they stopped and I'm kicking myself in my head because what I did before that was, hey, do you got a full service restaurant? It was the same thing. But I just wasn't putting my tone and my cadence into the original person who was in front of me. I wasn't serving them with all my heart, might, and mind. I was going through the motions, but doing the exact right step. But I wasted an hour and a half. And so many times as business owners, we point at our marketing team. We say, what'd you do wrong? Or we point at the person who's running our ads and we say, well, it must be their fault. Instead of taking the three fingers that are pointing back at us and considering like, what am I doing? Or how can I lean in and optimize? It could be something super simple. So let's talk about the role of data and decision-making in marketing. Guys, this is where I'm going to turn the volume way up. I am excited to reveal what I got to see at campaigns where we were running minimum $10,000 a month on YouTube ads, and the type of compound effect that gave us for being able to assess what's going on. I love that you said that, Rob. The compound effect is something that's small and so minuscule that people overlook the value of it if they can't see massive engagements. But you're just like Darren Hardy wrote the book on it, right? It's like, no, these things add up and they matter. So role of data and decision-making in marketing. What is it?
Yeah, no, it's so, and going back to my little things, right? It's like we can run the perfect ad. They get to the landing page. They're ready to, they fill out 9 stages of the form and then our CAPTCHA doesn't work, right? and they don't submit, it's like or the receiver drops the ball at the moment of truth, right? And because it's not even necessarily about dropping the ball at that particular point, but it's that it's going to happen again and you want to make sure you do it right the next time. And then that's that data capture to your question, and it starts to paint a clearer picture of what's actually going on. So yes, data, we've talked alignment, we've talked measurement, and then you're doing it for this reason is that part of the value of marketing that people, a lot of times they don't put any value in, which I find so funny, is that by doing these efforts, you're generating information no matter what. Now, it might be good information or it might be bad information because it doesn't work. But then to your point, well, what are we doing with that information? What does the data tell us? Or can we use that data a lot of times in other ways too? So we might be going out and embarking on a particular marketing strategy. Don't just focus on the primary use case for that one thing you're doing. That's where you're going to put 90% of your attention and focus for sure. But what about the other 10%? And here's an example. We do direct outreach on LinkedIn. And part of that is we're able to capture their email addresses. Well, what do we do with the email? We also do outreach through email too. Why? Because sometimes they're not as active on LinkedIn, right? And they are someone like me that transacts more in their email. So, hey, you might have actually really connected with them on LinkedIn and they wanted to engage, but they just forgot to check their LinkedIn inbox. Now we have another use case for that data that we're generating off of our primary goal, which, yes, is to connect on LinkedIn. So data is just critical. It's the byproduct of whatever marketing you're doing, whether the marketing works or doesn't work. A lot of people don't realize that. And then they just throw away all the information and say, oh, it didn't work. But it's like, well, there's probably a lot in there, and that's what we do a lot of times is we'll come in and be like, hey, a lot of this was actually really good, and I think sometimes, marketers definitely get a bad rap, but there are the ones that are trying and putting in good faith effort. And, sometimes they get it really close and it's just seeing that one little piece that does need to be adjusted or changed. And then that's the catalyst for that next level of growth, right?
Oh, it's huge. Well said, because if there's a bridge, right, and that bridge has a 1 foot gap, my car's not crossing. Right. The whole thing could be so good, but that one little gap. And usually, guys, I'm going to be honest with you, your marketing's not even close. Right. It's a bridge that's made up of half wood, half steel, half PVC pipe. And it's in 3 different sections of the same river, but like what? And that's what your brands look like, or our brands look like. And until we streamline that and see the opportunity to create the congruency and the alignment, again, back to Robb's word, right, it's not going to pay off the way that it can. And data does help us see that. So, Robb, one of the things that impressed me about your brand too, we were talking, I couldn't get into your website because I'm down here in Ecuador doing humanitarian stuff. And my team in Colombia couldn't get into it. And you got so much organic traffic coming to your website that you block certain countries from even being able to go to it. Talk to us about that. Like what, because most of us have, if we have 10 people who came to our website, it was me 5 times. Maybe my mom a couple times. That's where most business owners are, is the digital thing's not panning out. So what's some of the organic truths?
Consistency, right? So the efforts and results that we generate today are because of things we've done in 2018 and 2017, right? That build a strong basis. And that at that time was the way we structured the website. Right? The way that we built the pages, the infrastructure, making sure we had content and it could deliver in ways that we knew would be generating inbound interest. So
I'm going to interrupt you on it because I didn't quantify you well enough either. So I know part of the reason why you blocked traffic was because it was causing your hosting fees to go up as well, because the amount of people that are going. What does that traffic volume look like, if you don't mind, per month?
Yeah, appreciate that. Yeah, in certain months, we're approaching like the 50, 75,000 is like our top end that we found based on our hosting platform for like visits to the site. Now, we've obviously seen a ton of bot traffic that has increased too. So
guys, to compare that real quick, I think First Class Business and Vision Pros Live, I could be wrong because I don't look at this data as much as I should, but I think we get like 6,000 visits per year. Now we're 4 or 5 years old. We've got a podcast in the top 5%. We doing other things on other channels as well. But as far as the website goes, like, it is not common to have that level of traffic. And so bots are not, like, you're doing things that are driving a lot of organic traffic.
Yeah. You're seeing bot activity just because like these LLMs are searching the sites now. So that's what you're seeing activity wise. But yeah, our business has been built off of inbound website traffic. So early days, we bootstrapped. I had no marketing budget of my own. We had a lot of time. We were trying to figure out a lot of ways in which these platforms worked. And so, a little bit of dumb luck, but I started blogging, just putting information out. And some early articles I had, my favorite one, it was marketing questions to ask. We sat in that first position for an extremely long period of time. We were like outranking the HubSpots of the world. And it just opened my eyes to, wow, okay, content creation. And then how is this content being placed related to the keywords that were searched? So that led us down a heavy keyword research path. And then figuring out, okay, we're going to write content for our clients, organic SEO, now generative engine optimization you're hearing, but we're going to focus more time and intent on what keywords we actually go after and understanding if based on our website's domain rating, backlink profile, that gives us higher probabilities to rank for different keywords. So
this is a big reason why I'm trying to recruit this guy. Right, it is huge. Guys, I have a background in SEO. My first company was invested in by Matt Cutts, the search director of Google, for crying out loud. We were an SEO company, and this is where, again, it's all about the compound effect and the types of mistakes we can make. I ended up turning my back on SEO to a degree, like, well, it's getting easier. And we had an ad at Video Power Marketing. And that's where we're going to shift gears to another data set, because I'm not saying that we were wrong at Video Power Marketing, but you get an even better compound effect when you stay focused on all the principles that you can pick up. Don't put all your eggs in one basket, and don't spread yourself out too thin. I know it's a lot to ask entrepreneurs, but there's a very important balance. And that's why I keep saying, like, hire the expert. Get people like Robb in this with you, because you already have a lane of focus or 4 or 10 that you have to deal with, let alone trying to do all this other stuff. So here we built so that the ad at Video Power said SEO is cool, but not that cool. And he kept going talking about ads. And so I kind of adopted that mindset. I was like, yeah, everybody's competing in the SEO world. You have to keep paying to get to the top, but not if you really master the principles that people overlook, the little things that Robb did to be able to position his brand. And so we've kind of started doing that. But again, I'm going to switch gears to ads real fast, Robb, for the audience's sake, on the reality that, guys, 2 months ago, Vision Pros Live was still at 100 subscribers. We are at 16,000 subscribers now. 2 months later, with very, very good traffic that is highly qualified, that understands the value of these episodes, and that's helping us take off in other ways that are amazing. We've spent very little money on ads to help boost that process. And again, it's not ads are better. No, it's not. It's both of these principles help us grow. But one of the greatest things that came out of that experience was exactly what I saw happen at those companies that were spending $10,000 a month on YouTube ads. They got data so fast that they knew exactly what was working and what was broken. And then we can invest heavily in fixing those broken pieces. If the landing page was messed up, boom, we're throwing $500 or $5,000 to the landing page, fixing it. And next thing you know, boom, 60,000 is coming in. I'm telling you, that is the type of traction that we were gaining with Nordic Track and with Johnny Dumas of Entrepreneur Fire, Michael Hyatt, T. Harv Eckert, and beyond. And we spent very little on our YouTube ads. And all the data that came back to show our team, like, nope, these words get blocked. Nope, these words don't scale. Nope, I know that hype thing looks fun, but like Google Ads doesn't like it. And the policy is ultimately to block organic stuff that follows the same principles. And so we invested a very little bit of money, and we gained all sorts of insights about all the things that needed to change and be upgraded for our brand to continue to improve. That's just one element of how this stuff works. Robb, I'm circling back. Thanks for letting me steal the mic for a minute. Like, I want everybody out there to realize that as fast as you may be writing down all the things that Robb and I are talking about, all of us would be so short-sighted not to call Flying V or a company like it and say, like, hey, help me. This is a lot. There's a lot going on here. So Robb, continue. Let's wrap up on a final thought. So while we've talked about some practical ways to improve marketing performance over time, which, guys, I'm gonna circle right back to Robb said it, alignment and the compound effect of doing the right things. Robb, if this was your last chance to talk to visionary leaders out there, what would your advice be?
Great question. And I love that we talked about vision earlier, and you and I have connected on this, is shiny object, AI, robots, machine, go fast. But I think it's pulling even more at the relational strings of business, right? So you're looking at what are these avenues in which trust gets built, authority gets built. You get the opportunity to choose who you want to work with and win with and align with, again, that word. So I think that community aspect, right, and working with people that truly want the best for you and the people that are around you and in your community, and then reciprocating that, those are going to be the people that win, the businesses that win, the cities, the states, the countries. Especially as AI works so hard to create what it says in artificial, in a different kind of reality in certain ways. So yeah, I mean, I'm just more bullish on people like you, conversations like this, people that hopefully all meet through this network and putting more precedence and preference on those conversations than others a lot of times, right? So yeah, I think just building that trust network community, winning with the people you want to win with. And, you talked about family too. I know both you and I align on that. Yeah, people that align with putting family first, friends first, and a lot of times your business associates are both of those things more than anybody, right? And you relate with them in ways that you might not relate with a lot of other people. So yeah, that's what I would lead with.
Man, it's a lot like a marriage, and a family. You commit to work with each other long term, and maybe the train goes the distance for the rest of life. Maybe it's a train that takes you to a stop for a future chapter. But I see so many of the most abundant minds and wealthiest people finding ways to empower others and work together in harmony. There's a quote that I'll leave you guys with. This is my gift to you guys today on this. The quote is so misinterpreted and misused, and it is, "The rising tide lifts all ships." That's not true. A rising tide lifts all prepared ships. If the ship is not prepared, if it is falling apart and the tide, you're sinking fast like a pencil.
Makes it even faster, right?
Yeah. And so business owners, when you get the chance to meet with people like Rob or myself, and people who've been striving to figure all this out for decades, make sure to come in with that same humility that we recommended taking to AI. What can I be doing better? What do I need to fix? Don't hide from your blind spots. Lean into those of people who are going to love you enough to help you see the directional change you can make in order to benefit from the compound effects that can raise your vision to the next level. If you want to be on this show, click in the top right corner to become a guest. Come and join me. Talk to me about your vision. Rob, we really appreciate you being here today. My friends, it's not hard to Google people these days. Find them on LinkedIn, find them on YouTube. Do you have a special place where you like to be reached out to, Rob?
Yeah, LinkedIn's great. I think, connection requests there, DM. I generally will get, you need my cell or email if those are better after that. But yes, I am one of those ones checking LinkedIn DM regularly and always love meeting new people. So please reach out.
I love it. Guys, this is a man who has options in life. And so you're going to need to persuade him. My recommendation when you reach out on LinkedIn, use the audio clip functionality and show them your tone and cadence and ability to lead, is one that inspires him to want to work with you. We all can become better at whining and dining those who we want to work with us long term, rather than meeting them with the awkward, what do they ask people these days? They say, how much does it cost to work with you? You might as well ask us, what's the least amount we can pay you? We've got to be better recruiters to polish off our marketing principles for today. Be well. Build awesome. We'll see you on the next show.
Thank you for being here today. I'm really happy that you tuned in to Vision Pros Live. I'm looking forward to seeing your reactions as these episodes continue to move forward. This is going to get more and more fun. We'll have more and more engagement as well. We'll invite people to participate in the show. And thank you for giving us your time and attention. Have an excellent time